Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music. In this video, I'm going to talk about a band called Utopia. Not to be confused with Todd Rundgren's progressive rock band. Definitely a lot more famous than this band, Todd Rundgren's Utopia. This is a band that came out of California and existed between 1969 and 1970. And the band was Dennis Rodriguez on vocals and harp, Frank Kagenbrink on guitar, Gene Lucero on bass, Harry Brender on guitar, and Danny McBride on drums. And I have to say, a pretty solid band. Dennis Rodriguez is a pretty convincing singer. He definitely has his own voice, and it comes across really well. And so they put out that album in 1969, or it might be 1970. I think they recorded it in 1969. It actually came out in 1970. But it got lost. It took me a long time to ever find it. I think I found it in a used record store in 1978, and no wonder it became pretty rare. It's on Kent Records, and Kent Records is a small label, mostly known for blues and soul. Probably the only notable rock album that I'm aware of on Kent Records, besides this one, was the Neil Merriweather, John Richardson Boers record. So the Merriweather Richardson Boers record, which I ended up picking up as well. Of course, Neil Merriweather came out in a band called Space Rangers, and so he's kind of and also a band called Heavy Cruiser, which is pretty interesting. I'll probably do a video on them. So those are the only two rock albums I know that came out on Kent Records. I'd be really curious as to why Utopia ended up on that label, because they're a really solid band. It seems like they would have had a lot of choices of labels to choose from, but really strong record, especially for 69, 70, at least, a lot of obscure bands from 1969 and 70. Of course, in 1969 and 70, there was a lot of really killer rock bands in the world, but there's second and third tier bands that are pretty good, but are a little behind the times. But in this case, Utopia is at least forward thinking, and they start out with a ballad called "Young and Crazy," but then when you get into the record, it's got a lot of really great rockers on it. Sometimes boogie music. There's a very convincing slow blues song. It finishes up with an acoustic blues ballad. Well, not ballad, but a quiet acoustic blues record song with some great slide on it. And but most of the record has some really killer, relatively fast rocker tunes. It opens with a cover, "I Just Want to Make Love to You," which has a lot of similarities to the Foghat version that appeared, I think 2 years later. And they also do a really interesting version of Hound Dog. They completely transform it from the classic rock song that it is into something that's a little more heavy and rocking. So all in all, a really strong record. Once again, I highly recommend it. I didn't hear it till about 8, 9 years later after it came out, and I was very pleasantly surprised. It's got a very striking cover, and I've only seen one used copy in my whole life, so it definitely is pretty rare. And of course, one of the other things about Utopia that's interesting is they actually reappeared in 1974. A couple of different new members, but they ended up a band called Growl in 1974, and it came out on Frank Zappa's label, Discreet, of all things, which really seems odd, although of course, Zappa's Discreet label also put out those two Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes records, so he definitely was kind of open-minded about some of the other bands he brought on the label. But the Growl record is interesting too, because it has 4 songs that are reworked from the Utopia album, so that's pretty surprising in a way. I would imagine in the 4 years between the records, they would have come up with a whole batch of new material, but they ended up doing 4-year-old songs updated on the Growl record. So I'll probably do a separate video on Growl. I thought about including it in this video, but I think it's worthy of perhaps doing a whole video on it. So anyway, another one of those bands that even though it came out in 1969 or 70, this record would be right at home in 71 or 72 as well. There's nothing antiquated about it. It doesn't sound like a late 60s record in a lot of ways. Very forward thinking, but a really solid hard rocking album. And it really delivers the goods. The songs are good, great riffs, great rhythm section, really cool singer. So it definitely checks all the boxes. I can't really find much to criticize on it. So anyway, as usual, the link is posted below. Check it out. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that still haven't heard the record, so hopefully somebody's going to check this out and be as happy with the record as I am. So there you have it, Utopia on Kent Records, 1969, a real gem. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.